Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Brian Kelly met with the media today and addressed a few things as LSU enters Alabama week. The first that he addressed was not a surprise to me at all. Deuce Chestnut, not available. Denver Harris, not available. Zy Alexander, not available, but he's hurt. That I all expected. I don't expect Deuce Chestnut and Denver Harris to play again because they haven't been around for a month. Like maybe they'll be reinstated and they can play. I will be shocked if that happens. This is not any inside information that I have, of course. This is just me reading the room. The room suggests that Deuce Chestnut and Denver Harris are in the doghouse and not coming out anytime soon. Also, when you saw Zy Alexander come off the field against Army, and you realize that he couldn't put any weight on his foot, and they were wheeling him out of there in a wheelchair, like that wasn't going to go great. And so not surprising that he would be unavailable in this game. So those are probably your three best corners, I would say. So what do you do without those three guys? Well, you've got LaTerrence Welsh, and you've got Ashton Stamps, and you've got Sage Ryan. And I think that's probably where you start. Jeremiah Hughes, Javian Toviano, some of those guys could add some depth if anybody else goes down or you've got to play dime and put more DBs on the field. But it probably starts with LaTerrence Welsh, Ashton Stamps, and Sage Ryan. And does that give me the warm and fuzzies? Not really. I realize that it's not Waddle and Ruggs and Judy and Smith running around out there, but Burton's been pretty good, and Milroe has made big throws down the field all year long. So it just seems to me like when you've got this much youth and inexperience at corner, playing guys that just have not really played much this year, have not really played much in college, that you're just going to have to be very vanilla and very safe with this DB group. You're going to have to try to keep Alabama receivers in front of you. It's just not a situation like it maybe was in 2019 where you're going to stick Derek Stingley and Christian Fulton out there and say, hey, go cover them. Like, you're just not at that spot with this group. You're going to have to place some soft coverages, zone stuff, and hope that Milroe is inaccurate, misses some throws like he has a few times this year, and make them run some clock as they move the football. It's hard for me to look at an LSU secondary that puts those guys out there and slowing down Alabama much. Like, that's hard for me to imagine. Hope I'm dead wrong. It just is. But this was kind of expected, and they knew this kind of entering the bye week. I was surprised a little bit to hear Brian Kelly earlier today say that Mekhi Wingo is out for the year. That surprised me. Now, we talked to Matthew Bruni an hour ago, those that have watched some tape and have kind of seen some practice, like, Wingo's been dealing with an injury pretty much all year. And he just hasn't quite been as dynamic a player this year as he was last year. But he has gone under the knife, and Wingo did tweet out a little earlier today, said, hey, I'll be back for the playoffs. We'll be good. So LSU's got some work to do to get there. But that one hurts. And so you look at Mason Smith on the interior, you look at Jordan Jefferson on the interior, Jacobian Guillory can play in there as well. Jalen Lee can add some depth. You've got better numbers there. Depth was a strength at that spot. It's just a drop in ability from a healthy Mekhi Wingo to some snaps where you've got Jalen Lee potentially out there. That's a step down in ability. But it's a tough spot for Matt House. It really is. Because when you got to camp and you start getting ready for Florida State, like, your starting secondary was going to involve Deuce Chestnut, Zy Alexander, Denver Harris, and Greg Brooks. Like, those guys would have been starters when healthy and in good standing. And now you've got none of them. Nobody's available. And it's so hard to overcome repeated issues at a single position. And it makes it so frustrating that you've got two of these guys that are healthy and quote unquote unavailable. But we don't get that story, and Brian Kelly's not going to divulge that information, but he did get up to the microphone on Monday morning and say, hey, yeah, I'm not going to have those guys. I want that story one day. I really would like to hear that story at some point of what's going on and why these two guys who are healthy and capable and have an opportunity to help this LSU team win, and they can't get out on the field. And it feels like, I'm not making any proclamations. It feels like you're going to, quote unquote, waste one of the best offenses in the history of the school because you've got a couple of guys who can't get on the field for non-football reasons. I'm not telling you that Deuce Chestnut and Denver Harris are Christian Fulton and Derek Stingley. I'm not telling you they're Corey Webster and Travis Daniels. But they'd be out there instead of freshmen who hadn't played at all. And I'm not asking LSU's defense to go out there and pitch a shutout. I'm asking the defense to go out there and just slow things down a little bit and let the offense score enough points. It's difficult to think about how good this offense is and what the record at the end of the season could be. And you just kind of look at it and go, man, we could really use those guys out on the field. But LSU, again, will have had 2 weeks to get these guys ready to know what to do. And they're pretty good athletes. Ashton Stamp's a pretty good athlete. Terrence Welsh, a pretty good athlete. But there's the next man up thing. That's always the football. Next man up, next man up. Well, there's a reason that the next man up was on the bench. That's kind of always my thought. We'll see what LSU can do in the secondary coming up on Saturday. LSU and Bama, 6:45 kickoff. We are certainly going to spend a lot of time talking about that over the course of this week. Nothing else of massive news from Brian Kelly today. He talked about how he has watched LSU games against Bama in the past. Talked about his relationship with Tommy Rees and kind of what he sees on film. Of course, that's a matchup of a guy that Brian Kelly literally recruited, started at quarterback, and then hired as a coach. I think he knows Tommy Rees pretty well. And we'll see that offense on Saturday night. And Kelly kind of talked about their relationship at this point, talked about the Heisman Trophy and what the opportunity is for Jaden. There's a lot of massive storylines in this week, and this is going to be a big one. You got game day going to Tuscaloosa, and you got the one CBS primetime spot. This is a big spot, and LSU will do it without a lot of its guys with a little more name recognition on the defensive side of the ball, both in the secondary and up front. So, hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.